FSA Kitchens. Today we're going to take a look at one of the most popular items on our customers' menus, salmon. From a chef's perspective, we've got 3 different types of fillets, 3 different species. Let's do a little investigating about why you might choose which one and what you could do differently with these 3 different fish. Now, the interesting thing about salmon is that there's several different ways and types of salmon that you can buy. So I want to look at 3 of the most common ones side by side and talk a little bit about the different needs that each one of these meets on the dining room table. The one that's right in the middle, this is the Norwegian farmed steelhead. So yes, this is a farm-raised fish. It's one of the more sustainable fisheries on our planet. Now, a lot of people were kind of freaked out by farm-raised fish, so you've got to take a look at the sourcing and how they're going about doing the farm raising. And the Norwegian steelhead is raised in the fjords of Norway, which are really nice cold water, very similar to the British Columbia waters that we see here in the Pacific Northwest. When you take a look at this fish compared to this one right here, this is also a farm-raised fish. This is your commodity Atlantic farm-raised, although this is a pretty nice firm fillet we've got going on here. But you can see the color difference, that this one isn't quite as bright orange as the Norwegian steelhead. Interesting to also compare are the fat lines in these 2 fish. Both being farm raised, they have a nice fat content, but I really love the way this fat is nice, thick, marbling all the way through the tail. This is going to eat like a wild-caught king salmon in so many ways. Then I've got this little guy right here, and I'm actually going to pick it up and lay it kind of on top so you can see the difference. This is a wild-caught sockeye fillet, probably one of the ways that most restaurants are menuing a wild-caught salmon this time of year because they're available fresh. The challenge is that the fish that are actually out there right now are considerably smaller than, of course, how big these farm-raised fish can get. So the fillet that I can work with as a chef is shorter and only about half the height and half the width of these other fillets. Maybe not the most beautiful center of plate fillet coming off of this as there would be off of this farm-raised steelhead right here. The other thing I'm noticing is see how there's just teeny little ribbons of fat on our sockeye. Sockeye is always going to be one of the drier salmons, although it's got a great salmon flavor profile. This is something we're going to have to really pay close attention to when we go to cook it so it doesn't overcook and eat dry, whereas this guy right here, and even this one to some extent, are protected by their ribbons of fat. The other option for a wild fish, which isn't even on the table today, would be to go with a wild-caught king, and then of course you're going to have a delicious fish, but only when they're available, and that's going to be based on Mother Nature and on the fishing. So one last thing to take into consideration is the price point. Salmon can be inexpensive or extraordinarily expensive, and it really is just a matter of what specification, what breed or what species, and how it's being sourced. Here's a really great example. This really thin little fillet, it might be a wild-caught sockeye, but Copper River makes this the most expensive salmon on the table, versus this beautiful Norwegian steelhead, which is going to eat like king salmon, but not have the price point of king salmon. Or we can drop to a commodity type of a fish here, where really for buffets and inexpensive dining where guests are serving themselves this protein, this is going to be the way to go. The other thing we're going to do is talk about 3 different preparations that benefit these 3 different fishes.